Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are this is new to. And today I'm going to be bringing you a how to play video for the TCG Monster Club. So in my last video, we looked at the cards that you got in Season 0, which were these two decks here. And now today I'm going to be taking you step by step through the game using just one of these decks here. So let's use the one with Savannah Warrior because he's really cool. And it's also got my favorite card, the Most Loyal Mage, in it. And the first thing we're going to do before we learn actually the physical rules of the game is we're going to look at the deck again and we're going to look at what the cards actually do and how to build a deck. So what is in a deck of Monster Club? So in a deck will be 25 cards, and that will be 25 unique cards. And by unique, that means you cannot have multiple copies of the same card unless it specifies it on the card. So for instance, Army Soldier here says duplicates of this card are allowed. That means you can have more than one. And in this deck, we do have more than one card here. We have 2 Army Soldiers. But for cards like the Most Loyal Mage, you only get 1 copy of it. So that's it. So that's really cool. I love the idea that if it's going to be a trump card or you've got a card in your deck, you can only have 1 of it. So when it comes out, it really means something. It's something special when you play it. And these are monster cards. So your deck will be a mix of 25 monster cards and power cards. So let's have a look at a power card here. There we go. This is a nice one. So monster card, power card. We'll have a look at the monster card first. You have the name of the monster card. You have the image. You have the rules here, if it does have any rules. Some are just vanilla. So this card here, the Most Loyal Mage, says this card only initiates an attack if the command comes directly from its original owner. That means that if it somehow swaps sides or your opponent has taken control of it, they cannot attack with it. It can only be commanded to attack by the person who plays it or it belongs to in their deck. We then have its attack value here, which is 1400, so that's very high. We have its card type, so it's a paper type. And we have how many power cards that it can equip. And that is 2 power cards can be played onto it. So we'll have a look at this thing here first, the kind of card types. This is paper. And you see you have some rock and you'll have some that are scissors. There we go. And what does that mean? Well, that simply means that if you have 2 monsters that attack each other that have the same attack value here, then you just compare their card value. So rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, paper beats rock. And that's how you compare. Now, if they have the same attack value and the same card type, they both get destroyed. It's as simple as that. So that's nice and easy for you. Now let's have a look at a power card. What is a power card? Well, these are cards in the game that are either like equipment cards or they kind of have one-off abilities and then get discarded. But either way, they have to be played onto the stack, which will have a monster on it. So you can't just play this loose floating about. You have to have a monster out on the board in order to play. So this one here, the first power sword, again you have your art. The little P indicates that it's a power card type here, and finally what it actually does. So this one here just gives 600 attack. So if I had the Most Loyal Mage out here with 1400 attack, I could then play the first power sword on it. There we go. And now its attack is 2000. And it's just that clear. Right. So now we have our 25 card deck filled with power cards and with cool monsters. We're just going to give it a shuffle. And you can see here I've already got the playmat for the Monster Club Corporation already out. And we're going to put our deck in the deck zone here. So let's just move that so you can see the full thing. There we go. 3 stacks means you have 3 spaces in which to play monsters. Now, if those 3 spaces are full, that's it. You're going to have to wait till your monsters are destroyed to play anything more. So you really have to make good use of your space. So what do you do to play the game? Well, you decide who goes first, and also you decide how many monsters are going to be needed to be destroyed to win the game. So that's how many monsters that I destroy of my opponents to win. So we normally just do, let's say 3 monsters will win the game. But I think the standard is 6 at the moment. It might be 5 or 6, but 3 I think is really good for a kind of intro game. Gives you a really quick flavour of how to play. So first thing we do is we're going to draw our 5 cards on our hand here. What have we got? We've got Gonzo Plus, the Destacker, Dragon Neutralizer, Power Destruct, and Army Soldier. So that's our hand. So we have 1, 2, 3 monster cards and 2 power cards. So that's really good. So on your turn, you can play as many monster cards and as many power cards as you want. So that means that you can drop your hand if that's how you feel you should play. So let's play Gonzo Plus. Now you're going to summon Gonzo Plus to any one of these stacks. Now why is that important? That's important because let's say we have Pretty Forest Dweller here. That's important because Pretty Forest Dweller can only be attacked by cards that are in the same stack alignment as it. So Gonzo Plus, for instance, will not be able to attack Pretty Forest Dweller from the left or from the right. It has to be in the center. Now, there are some cool cards that let you kind of cheat that rule, but the core rules of the game are they have to be directly in line. So I'm going to play Gonzo Plus down, and let's give it a... And let's also summon Army Soldier down as well. Now, Army Soldier can't attack, but I might want to get that down because at the beginning of your turn, you draw back up to 5. So the more cards you play, the more cards you draw from your deck at the start of your turn. But what if I didn't want my opponent to know that I'm going to play Army Soldier, who is really quite a weak card of 400? You can play it face down. So this is the bluff now, because I could play this card face down here, and my opponent will not know if it's a 400 attack point monster or if I'm secretly hiding another 1000 attack point card here. So they could attack into it. Let's say I set Gonzo Plus down. Then when they decide to attack, let's say they're going to chance it with Pretty Forest Dweller, you can flip over Gonzo Plus. And oh, he's got 1000 attack. That means that Pretty Forest Dweller is destroyed instead. And that's good value on your turns because you can clear your opponent's board. So let's just flip these back over. Now you can equip more power cards onto it. So all power cards linked to this battle are destroyed. This card is destroyed. So let's say I'm going to put that in if my opponent had some wicked power cards on Pretty Forest Dweller. I mean, it can hold 7 power cards, so you can actually pump this card to nuts numbers. Power Destruct is a really good card, so all power cards linked to this battle are destroyed. So you can pretty much wipe out everything. But let's say I don't want my opponents to know I have this. You can actually play your power cards face down as well. So that's another cool bluffing thing that you can do in this game. It might be nothing. It might have no effect, like Dragon Neutralizer. If your opponent doesn't have any dragons, it's pretty much useless in your hand. But by placing it face down, not only do you give your opponent an idea that, oh, they might have some really powerful card underneath there to buff up Army Soldier, and it could be I'm trying to bait you. But also it kind of clears your hand free as well, so that on your next turn you can draw back up to 5. So that's really good as well. That's something that you want to bear in mind when you're playing. The only thing you can't do is you can't put I can't play a monster card face down and a power card face up. So you can't do it that way. But you can do the double like that or like that. You just can't do it like that. And you have your 3 stacks as well, and that's it. So let's fill my board up here. Now, let's just return all these cards back to my hand. So there you go. That kind of covers your summoning monster mechanic here, and how you can summon your monsters and play power cards on them. So the next bit will be movement. So let's say I've got Gonzo Plus here. Now I need to get rid of my opponent's Pretty Forest Dweller. You can move your card, and cards can move 1 space left or 1 space right. So I'm going to move Gonzo Plus. But when they do move, they can't attack. So that's it for your turn. So it always gives your opponent a chance to respond to moving one of your monsters into the same alignment as your opponent's. Now, let's say your opponent doesn't want Pretty Forest Dweller to be destroyed. it can move away from your monster. Now, what that means though is that you might get caught in a loop where you go like this and they just move like this, you go like that, they go like that. But in the rules here, as soon as they move and you move back, they can't move away from the same monster twice, so they get locked in. So I move Gonzo there, they move Pretty Forest Dweller there, I move Gonzo back. That's it now, they're locked. You cannot move Pretty Forest Dweller away from Gonzo Plus again. That's it, they're like chained to the board now. You know, Pretty Forest Dweller has to accept her fate. Then finally, the attack phase. I'm just go in with Gonzo Plus. You don't have to tap him sideways or anything like that. Gonzo Plus attacks. You compare the attack values, 400 to 1,000. Pretty Forest Dweller is destroyed and goes to the graveyard. I score a point. When I destroy 3 of my opponent's monsters, I win the game. And as soon as you attack, your turn is over. And then at the start of your turn, you will draw right back up to 5 again. This is a cool card here. Some power cards here can be played from your hand as a surprise. You still have to put it onto a monster. You can surprise your opponent by playing this card from your hand during its turn. At the end of this turn, this card is destroyed. So that's really cool. So you can go, aha, and, you know, surprise defense on Gonzo Plus, giving it 1,600 attack. So that is how you play the game. And you just go back and forth like that. You play cards into the stack. You put power cards onto your monsters. You attack with your monsters or move them left or right. They can't move and attack. Once you do attack, you calculate the battle scores and you discard or destroy the cards that go into the graveyard. Calculate your victory points, pass turn to your opponent, and next turn you draw back up to 5. The only other thing in the game that's worth mentioning is that you always have to have a monster on your side of the board. So let's just say 2, 3, 4, 5. I draw a hand. It's my turn. I have nothing in the board. I draw a hand of power cards. You shuffle. You reveal it to your opponent. There you go. Put them back in your deck. Shuffle your deck. And you draw a new hand of 5. There we go. Got the Destacker and Army Soldier again. You draw a new hand of 5 so that you can actually play a monster. You cannot deny your opponent a chance to score victory points by not having a monster on the board. The only exception to that is if a monster that you control is destroyed on your turn. So let's say I play a Gonzo. They have a card face down. I'm going to chance it. Gonzo attacks you face down. It's Pretty Forest Dweller. Gonzo is destroyed instead. My turn ends. I don't have to shuffle my hand or anything like that. My opponent just gets a free turn where I have no monsters on the board. And that is the basic overview of the game. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I mean, there's loads of cool mechanics in here. The idea of kind of bluffing your opponent, stacking power cards, obviously theme decks as well. You can start to see we've got some Gonzo cards coming up. Gonzo the Guardian Sentinel, Army Soldier, Gonzo Plus. You know, they can kind of fuse together. Army Soldier, Gonzo Plus, fuse to make Gonzo the Guard. You know, it's so cool. And by fuse, I just mean that there's the effect here. Destroy Army Soldier and Gonzo Plus to play this card. So you play those two, they go to the grave. And then you play Gonzo out. Now, by destroying these, it doesn't give your opponent the victory score. Your opponent has to destroy the cards in order to score points. So you're not minusing yourself in order to play. Well, thanks again for watching. I've been U2, and if you've enjoyed this Monster Club content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're watching today, and that is May the 8th, 2021, make sure to tune into the Monster Club Corporation's special announcement on the YouTube channel, where they're announcing, well, we don't quite know. It's at 8 o'clock tonight, 8 p.m. GMT, and I can't wait to see what the reveal is. All we have is the Japanese words for ghost and club as the kind of spoiler. So I'm really stoked for it. As always, I've been U2. Thank you very much.